Welcome to You Are Your Name. In the past seasons, we've been focused upon the influence of name on your thinking, health, and life. In this season, we're going to focus on the law of cycles, which describes the cyclic nature of time. The law of cycles influences our thoughts and feelings in a very direct and predictable way. By being aware of this cyclic pattern, we can be more conscious of our thinking and live to the higher potential of our thoughts. I'm Daken Ariel, your host, with Marlowe Shearing, my co-host, and we have a special guest today, Steffany Lovick. Thank you for joining us, Steffany.
It's my pleasure.
For someone who hasn't used the cycles, what sort of activities would we do relative to the seeding period, either the 1, 2, or 3 cycle? What would be some examples?
Well, we would try to plan major things that we're wanting to accomplish or bring into our life would be seated in those very strong times. Now, if you type of work where it's a rhythm that you can't control, I worked in a school system for many years, and it's going to start in September in this part of the world, whether that's a good cycle for me or not. But you can be in control of when you plan your job interviews. You can be in control of writing down a goal, even if you're wanting to start a business and you have to wait for various reasons. You can write the goal down at the key time in your cycle. And that is like a little seed that you have planted. And then all your subsequent activities can support the seeding that you've done. The 1 year, of course, is the strongest influence for a very major long-term change in the 9-1 and 1-2 months of June and July, middle of June to right through July. Very powerful cyclic influence. And so if you can, you're going to want to try to get big ideals and goals seated at that time. Maybe you don't want to make a change in your business life or your professional life, but maybe you want to make a change in how you are dealing with people or the kind of people you're attracting for whatever reason. Or maybe you want to make a change in how you handle your physical body. You know, you might want to start a good diet that will help you to eliminate toxins and have more vitality. It could be anything that's important to you, but you'll try to seed something important in the 1 year in that period of time. If you didn't know about your cycle in that 1 year, you have another chance in the 8-1 month of your 2 cycle, and that's April. So you're not too late if you're just listening now. Or if you didn't know about it in your 2 cycle, you have a third chance to seed important things in the 7-1 month of your 3 cycle, which is February. So each one of those is an opportune time to seed something important. And then if all of that went by you without any knowledge or without any opportunity to control the seeding, then in your 5 cycle, which is the one that I'm in, you can use July, the 5-1 month, to either initiate something that's relative to what you want to do or to reseed, perhaps tweaking it so that it's more in tune with where your current thinking happens to be. But here's the thing. You can always make something positive come about if you bring a constructive attitude to it, because we don't believe in it as a matter of faith. We recognize it as a natural law. But you can choose to make a shift in the middle of a cycle. It will not be as powerful. It will not have as much energy as if you were able to seed it at the perfect time. But your life isn't going to stop. It's going to go on. So why not make it as positive as you can? And therefore, a 5-1 month and a 5 year, July, excellent time to evaluate where you're going. And is that where you want to go? And then proceed from there.
When you mentioned that you can make a change in the middle of a cycle and it will not be as powerful, you're meaning that you can make a change in the 9-year cycle pattern other than the key seeding times, such as the 1, 2, and 3, plus the 5, which either is a furthering of what you started in the 1, 2, or 3, or a restarting opportunity if necessary, so that you could make a change in any cycle, but the fruition in the 8 cycle will not be as great because the plant hasn't had time to fully mature. And it's like planting corn a month later than you would usually. the ears may not be quite ready to pick in the regular harvest period. You just might have to wait a little bit longer to see it all. You'll still get a harvest for all your effort, but the optimum harvest comes from starting in the 1, 2, and 3 cycles, nurturing these goals and efforts in the 4, 5, and 6, and then bringing those efforts to fruition in the 7, 8, and 9 cycles. But as you say, you can make a change in any cycle if there's a pressing need.
That's right. Or I had the example in a 4 cycle, my car broke down. It was beyond help. You can buy a car in your 4 year. Well, some people make that choice and they recognize that it may not be the one they keep forever. In my case, I chose to lease for a year, which meant it wasn't as long-term a commitment. It was a guaranteed amount that I had to pay every month. So I wasn't going to get a $5,000 bill 3 months into the whole experience just because I bought in a 4 cycle. That worked out well for me.
I remember one episode, I think it was the end of a 3-month, and our stove broke. And it was like the last day of a 3-month. And of course, in the 4-month, it's not really a time to buy new things generally. But we said, well, we'll buy it today, but we'll put an on-site warranty on it. And the stove got delivered the next day. And sure enough, when we turned it on, the element broke. It just shattered. So the technician came the next day and repaired it for free. So just even knowing you're going into a testing period, you might change your insurance or do something differently to account for it.
I think it's just interesting to look at what Steffany was saying, that we're discussing the energy of time as being part of human progression. And human progression starts through the decisions of the mind. And so we're using time as a choice of mind of the best possible outcome. And so we're saying that in those cycle times, the energies of life will assist us. And Steffany also referenced that our thinking changes. And so life is a continual effort of growth. And even in that seeding cycle, it can be thoughts of personal development, as was also mentioned, not just physical actions of changing jobs, but actually changing perspective or growing our interests. And all those endeavors in that seeding cycle bring that opportunity of a bigger mind, greater experience in this life that we live in.
Just also relative to the seeding cycle, the 1 year is basically a time of hard work. It's not a time of fruition. And so I had the experience of making a change in a 1 year that was exactly what I wanted, more or less. But in order to get exactly what I wanted, I had to work like a slave. It happened to be moving into a new school, and they wanted my music program, but they wanted to put me in a room with other people. I'd have to share the space. I wouldn't have any room to work the way I like to work. I went to the building and I looked around, and there was a storage room in the basement with no interior heating, and it was filthy. It was packed with old junk that nobody had wanted to do anything with. And I physically went in and moved that stuff out, physically cleaned it from top to bottom. And it was a lot of work. But when the Munchkins walked through the door, they came into my space, and that made the discipline issue about 100 times less stressful than if I had to constantly go into somebody else's space. You know, it was well worth the effort, but it was a lot of work. A lot of similarity between the 1 year and the 8 year. One is seeding and the other is fruition. But in each case, in order to get the best out of it, you have to put the elbow grease in.
And I imagine people will respond to the urges of a cycle without even being consciously aware of it. I finished university. We traveled for a bit. We ended up landing in Vancouver in June of my 1 year. And in June of the 1 year, it's a 9-1 month. And so it's a little indefinite, but at the latter half, it's more positive to start new things. And I took 2 weeks to get my resume organized. And sure enough, on the 18th, I went out on my first interview, which is the key point of the cycle to seed, and ended up getting a job on the first interview. And it was the best time to start. I didn't know anything about cycles at the time. I just basically was responding to the quality of time. And I'm sure that's true for most people. But when they are consciously aware of these energies, then they can do a lot more with their life, have more success, more attainment, and create the life that they want. What would be the challenges of a 2-cycle year?
Well, the big thing is the challenge of confidence for anyone in a 2-cycle and of initiative, because it's a year to relax and have association, drink a cup of tea, and be a little bit less go-getting. That's the kind of default if you don't know the potential of the cycle. But when you can be influenced by the thinking of others, you don't always get the best advice. And then you have to deal with that, and you have to learn the lessons from it, turn it around, and use the best parts of the cycle to reestablish what your real goals are and not let yourself be led astray.
It seems like the lesson of the previous cycle is important to have established to get the success in the current cycle. So if you're going to be successful in a 1 year, you want to have the ideals from the 9-year seeded. But if you have ideals, then you'll seed them in the 1-cycle year and create that individuality. That's the lesson of the 1 cycle. So that when you're in the 2-year, which is a time of social interaction, you have that individuality to rely upon to actually further your efforts, but still to understand people and understand what they can offer and what you can offer them. So the same thing goes right through the cycle, that you have to learn the lesson of a particular cycle to start out the next cycle in a more positive way. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Marlowe?
The 2-year, the key month of July is the 2-4 month, and life is people. And as was said, the idea of that individuality of being able to determine through your own thinking what is best for you and developing that quality of self-confidence. And then when you go into the 3 cycle, there's more of an optimism and more of an opportunity of expression, because you've gained, as Daken was just saying, that lesson of that 2 cycle. And now you're determining your expression and the optimism and the enthusiasm of that next opportunity.
It's a wonderful time to branch out just a little bit in terms of your expression in a 3-year. We think about the 3 and we think about people talking a lot and having fun and making jokes, but just a new form of creativity. When you have the knowledge of the cycles, it can be a nice way to create a gift for someone. My husband gave me a Christmas present at the very end of my 2-year, which was my first 6 months of harp lessons. And I'd never played the Celtic harp before, and I'd always thought, oh, gee, that's pretty interesting. So sure enough, I started my lessons in my 3-cycle year, and after a few months, I enjoyed it so much I went and bought one. I don't play it as much as I thought I would, but when I do, it gives me great pleasure. And this was purchased with the idea that this was just for enjoyment and relaxation with no pressure attached. And that was a lovely experience. And it all came about because of someone's creative thinking and recognition of the influence in the cycle.
Do you have anything you want to add to that, Marlowe?
1 year, 3 cycle, it was an opportunity that I did singing lessons. And those lessons were to increase that musical expression and develop more relaxation, opportunity to learn something new. But those music lessons, they also expand your perspective, and you get to meet people that have that musical creativity. And so just different cycles, being aware of the reason of that cycle or that quality of that mathematics, and then trying to include that in your ideals for that cycle, and you grow your opportunity of life.
We're going to complete this discussion next episode. In the meantime, if you'd like to learn more about the Cyclic Law, you can download our free app, which is called Cycle Chart, on either the Android or Apple Store. Set up a free account. You can create an account with your email address or your Gmail or your Apple account or even your cell phone number. And once you set it up, all you have to do is give it your month and date of birth, and it will configure your personal cycle information for a 5-month window. the current month plus 2 months in the future and 2 months in the past. So that should give you a chance to evaluate your cycles relative to the months, days, and years. So until then, happy thoughts.